department. Chad, if you can go ahead and start and the record button. All right. So the goal today is to go through and show you all the configurations that you can do with Invoice and Quote to accommodate different needs. And there's a ton of them, so I'm going to go pretty fast, but of course it's all going to be recorded, so you can go through and rewatch it if you need to go over something specific. Okay, and next slide. Okay, so the things we're going to be covering today. How about requiring signature on returns, quantity discount display, opening the cash drawer for certain situations, disabling receipts at checkout, adding alternate part numbers on the fly in Invoice and Quote, core charge identifiers, disabling auto combining of rows, display only quotes for account, filtering your yard orders, receipt printers for the reprint, and hiding regular retail on receipts. So we're going to go right into the first one. All right, so requiring signatures on returns. Now, signatures on returns helps in many, many different ways. One of the things it helps in is tracking who is returning items to your store and making sure that you have a record so that way if somebody keeps returning stuff to your store, you can identify that person. You know, maybe there's some theft going on. Now, how this looks is this box will show up on your screen whenever you do a return. Now, if you can see in the ID field, there's a little ID that's turned counterclockwise or kind of cockeyed. Now, that little item there shows you that if you have a 2D barcode scanner, which is something that we sell here, you can get them in both the Bluetooth version and in the wired version, you will be now able to scan the back of a driver's license, and it will fill all these fields in for you. And it also shows up right on the receipt. As you can see there to the right, I've got a receipt for yours truly, and I returned a test. Okay. Now, we also have a display where it's going to pop up for items with quantity discounts. So this is the quantity discount display. So a lot of times what will happen is, okay, you have something with a quantity discount and you have it in the case or you have it in the each. And me as a cashier is scanning things and maybe I didn't realize that, oh, okay, this is the case, not the each. Now, what this will do is it will pop up a window in Invoice and Quote that says, hey, this thing has multiple pricing levels, and it will wait there until I clear it either by clicking OK or hitting F8. This pops up right when the item is scanned, so it's really easy to see where all of a sudden it pops up and it alerts the cashier that items have a quantity price break. This also is a way to where you can sell more of a product. So if somebody comes up with 4 cans of pop and I've got a quantity price break at the whole 6-pack, I can then say, hey, you know, you can get this for less if you buy the whole 6-pack, might increase your sales. Okay, and just to mention, see where you see invoice and where I've highlighted the next thing that I'm going through? This is in File Setup in the Company tab. And this is open for you guys to go in and check and uncheck. I'm skipping over Enable Kit functionality because it's a whole deal on its own. And I also skipped over Enable Inventory on Hold because, again, it's just part of a different web series. So I like this feature because I just always like being able to configure stuff to open sometimes and not open other times. So here's all the possible payment type selections that you can make. What this does is if you check mark one of these things, when an invoice has this kind of type on the invoice itself, then it will open the cash drawer. So, okay, if somebody wants to pay with cash and you use the tender type cash, well, it's going to open up that cash drawer. Now, if they do a charge, though, there's no need to open up the cash drawer, and so it won't. Same with credit card. You can configure those, and as you can see, there's a lot of configuration you can do if you wanted to open sometimes and not open other times. Open cash drawers basically invite theft most of the time. So people always want their cash drawers not to open if they don't need to be open. And so here's where you'd set that up. Now I also highlighted another feature down there that don't open the cash drawer for $0 cash sale. That is also an important thing, so that way your employees can't just pop open the cash drawer whenever they like by doing a $0 cash sale, and all of a sudden they have access to the cash drawer. Now, one of the things that I hear every once in a while, actually, once we made this feature, I don't hear it much anymore, was, you know what, my customers just don't want a receipt. They come in, they buy something, and they say, I don't want a receipt. Well, we have a way of accommodating that. So what we do is we disable the automatic receipt at checkout. What that does is it just won't print a receipt at checkout. Now, what I did do is on this slide, I show you the transaction complete window, which is basically the window where you're going to ask, hey, would you like a receipt with your items? Because this is going to be the time where you'll hit 2 and give them a duplicate receipt, and it'll print right out on the receipt printer, and then you can give it to them. If not, you just hit done and everything's good. All right, adding alternate part number from invoicing. This, uh, this is a great feature for startup stores. What this does is, now I've shown you part number not found, and everyone has seen this window if you ever run the cash register or Paladin. This is what usually comes up when this selection is not selected. Is, hey, I put in this part number, it's not found, and you have to go and try to find it some other way. Now, when this feature is enabled, you'll see what's down below where it says part number 1235 was not found. Search for this part number by another part number. And so it will allow you to, hey, I scan an item, it's not in my system, but I do know what the part number for this is. I'll type that part number into the alternate part number and hit OK, and forever is that barcode that I just scanned now attached to that part, and I'll never have that problem again. As you can see, this would be great for startup stores where maybe not all their data is in the right spot, or maybe we had to clean up some of their data and none of the barcodes are going to be in there, or maybe sometimes they get product from a completely different vendor, and all of a sudden maybe the barcode's different. So good way of being able to clean up a lot of stuff right at point of sale. Some people don't like it, so it is a configurable option. Cord charge identifier. Everyone who's ever done any work on a car knows what a cord charge is, especially when you talk about alternators. Now, we had cord charge in our package because originally we were built for a auto parts store, and that's why cord charge was there. Now cord charge can be used for many, many, many different things. And what we've done is we've allowed you to actually change how it looks even in invoice or even in inventory and invoice and quote. So as you can see, I've taken a little snapshot from inventory to show you that this used to say core charge, now it says deposit. Actually, I should have misspelt it so that you can see that I wasn't lying, but this is how it will look on an invoice. So there's deposit. Disable auto-combining rows. I have had this suggestion, and we built it quite a while ago. This comes handy for those guys who are building quotes for your big buildings, where they will quote out each individual piece of the building. And what they didn't want to have happen is they didn't want to have stuff auto-combine. So we've actually set a setting in there to where you can turn that off, and then that way if you put two identical pieces in there, as I've done right there, they will be completely separate of each other. Okay, and this one is displaying on quotes that match account numbers. This is huge for anybody who uses quotes a lot. This is a great way of keeping them all organized. What you can do is when you're creating your quote, you would have that customer pulled up. You would save that quote. Now, with this feature on, when you go to recall the transaction and you go to quote, it's only going to show you the quotes that are for that customer. So if you want to just pull up their stuff, once you get into the invoice and quote, you go up, you pull up your customer, and then you recall the transaction and hit quote, and then only their stuff shows up there. It's great for just keeping everything organized, especially if you're doing massive amounts of quotes. And for people who have yard orders, this is a yard order filtering for the printing by inventory location. So locations, everybody knows location, 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 and locations are also very important to set up in Paladin. This will allow this feature to work. If you have a location, and that location is very specific to your yard, you can put that location in this feature, and then when you do a yard order, only things for the yard are going to print up on the actual yard order. So as you can see, I've got two pieces here, test and test 2. And one of them I have set for location 1, the other one I've set for location 2. So when I print my yard order, it's going to look like this. So I only have the first test there. Okay, use receipt printer for invoice reprint. So there's 2 ways that this can be done. With this unchecked, when you do a reprint or a receipt, it's going to pull it up in a PDF. Now a PDF can be printed to your laser printer, but not to the receipt printer, because the way that the receipt is formatted has now been irreparably changed because it's now in a PDF. So for people who want to have their reprints to come out on the receipt printer, here's your selection. So this will work in the following areas: in advanced lookup, in invoice and quote module, where most of your cashiers are going to be. This also works in the sales history in the inventory module. So when you go and you pull up a part and you go into the sales history tab and you want to see the invoice that a sale was done on, it'll work there too. Also, in the recent sales history in the customer module. So that means you go to the customer module, pull up the customer, go to credit, go to customer friendly, and that is the recent sales history portion. Double click on any of those invoices and it will reprint it, and it will reprint it either on the receipt if you have that checked or not if you don't. This is the last piece here, is the hiding an items regular retail on invoice. Now we've done this, we've put it on there, and this is the way the receipt would look if this wasn't checked. We usually put how much the regular retail is on there, so that way a customer can look at it and go, oh, okay, I got it for $18 when originally it was $20, and they see that they're getting a discount. Of course, some stores don't want them to see how much discount they're getting, and so we have this switch here that'll make the receipt look like this. So we just basically remove the $20 from there. So now all they see is the price that we sold them to. So thank you very much. That was my presentation. I hope that you got a lot out of it. The invoice and quote is very customizable, and that's it. Thanks very much for coming. Are there any questions, Chad?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay.